All right.
Can you scroll back? You've got the minutes. Yeah, scroll back to the agenda.
Well, yep, that's the agenda. Oh,
Okay, yeah, you had the minutes.
okay.
Uh, Minutes are fairly long.
Okay. All right, there we go.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I will, since it's 6, I'll go over the Zoom instructions real
Hello.
quick if you're fine with that, Jim.
Okay, we'll, before we start, let's just wait. Oh, there's Dana. Okay.
Joe, can you please enlarge the agenda?
Yeah. Yep. That better?
That's much better.
Okay, so I'm gonna go over the Zoom instructions for public meetings real quick, and then you guys can get rolling. So,
Okay, Andy, you're doing the minutes this time, right?
Yep.
Okay. It looks like Dana here. So let's go ahead and start. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:02. It looks like we're all here. Our guest, Becky, she's got a spot on the agenda. So unless she has any other comments right now, we'll go on to approve the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or deletions to the
hey,
agenda?
Jim,
Yes.
just a quick thing, for public meetings on Zoom now, you have to first kind of do a roll call that you're here for the public, and you have to state where you are and located so that people know,
Okay.
so if you can go around.
Okay. So we'll start with Lori.
Laurie Gosshorn, Saugatuck Township.
Andy,
Andy Diaz, Saugatuck Township.
Erica,
Erica Barman, Saugatuck Township.
Dana,
Dana Bird, Saugatuck Township, in my basement.
good. It's always handy to know where you are. And Jim Searing, Saugatuck Township. Okay. So we'll go on to the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or changes to the agenda?
I'm just curious. You said, okay, there, I see it. There we go. No, we're good as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, I make a motion, we approve the agenda as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I
Okay. The next item is the minutes. So I guess we need to, I'll ask first, has everyone had a chance to read the minutes? They're quite detailed. And it's coming here. Okay, so here are the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read them?
Yes,
Okay,
I did.
okay, does anybody have any questions? The thing that I wanted to comment about, and I put an agenda item on later to talk about how much detail we need in the minutes. So we'll talk about that under new business. But these minutes are quite detailed. So is everyone satisfied with them or comfortable that we can approve them at this point?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
I see, when
Almost
I
ready to
ask,
approve them.
go ahead, go ahead. I don't know how much of a lag, when I ask a question, how much of a lag it takes. So if no one answers right away, I'll go on. So jump in if you have a comment or question. And then I'll pause for a few seconds and I have not heard anything. So,
I'll move to approve the minutes.
okay, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I,
Okay. The next item is a financial report. That should be towards the end. Okay.
Can we rotate them? Thank you.
Okay. The first item are, okay, so this is a list of the invoices that we've received in this month, I believe, for a total of $456. Or are probably items paid. This is a list of the donations. Mostly dog park donations and donations from Art Lane.
wow, $127 in dog park donations?
Yeah, that was 4 separate trips. But each one had, 30 to 40. So
Wow.
yeah, we're doing pretty well. It's a darn good thing we got that thing cleaned up and out there. So yeah.
Okay, this is the general fund, and last time we did this, we questioned our general fund balance. We were short the $1,700 from the Blue Star Trail when we agreed to split the repair to the bridge just north of the fire department. So that $1,700 came in. In addition, I talked to Griffin about adding $1,000 because, as you know, this was the first time we did the budget with this format, which he did. So our total left is 3225. So hopefully that'll cover our expenses in the general fund for the rest of this fiscal year. Does anybody have any questions regarding the budget?
I guess I just have a comment that we'll have to watch it, as we get snow plowing and, in the spring with mowing and stuff, if this is gonna get us to July 1.
Well, what do we do if we run out of money? I mean, we can't
Well,
not plow because I go to the dog park almost daily and it's usually fairly well utilized. And I've
Yeah, I
been
guess
to
they
River
just need to
Bluff.
communicate it to the township board, as they're doing their budgeting, that
So,
we're seeing things come in higher or lower or whatever.
so board members, as the manager, my job is to update this thing. So if I see that there is, as we go through the remaining of this fiscal year, if there's something that I note that we might be over budget or something, I will make that known to the board and to the commission as well, so that you are, aware of what I'm seeing coming down the line on the budget end.
So what would typically happen? Would they give us an emergency influx to continue with plowing and things if there's a lot more snow?
So most funds, and I believe, so you are operating out of what it looks like the general fund. So that would, if those department lines are over budget, it would be adjusted within the full budget. So either a tapping into the fund balance or something somewhere else in the budget might be under budget. So the total budget for the township would be fine. So I would be reviewing those and making those notes when I give my update to the township board. And then I'll let you guys know, what's going on in the parks.
And that's what Griffin did with with that extra $1,000. So we won't not plow the dog park. We should be able to manage that. Okay, and we do, in our, I think it was 408, we had a little surplus. But I talked to Griffin and he did not think of, because it's a different fund, he did not want to move money from that fund to the general fund. Because this fund, we have not, the capital projects fund, we have not had any expenses there. And while we're on the subject of that, I would like to, next month, I'll put on the agenda the budget planning so that we can have done, I think, by the 1st of April, by our meeting in April, I would like to be able to give Joe what our budget requests are for 2021 and that fiscal year, 2021 through 2022. So just keep that in the back of your mind, and we'll talk more next month. Basically, just like we did this year for the money for the roof and the money for the sidewalk. Any other comments on the budget or the financial statement? Okay, I'll make a motion. We approve the financials.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to old business. At our last meeting, we talked about Dana and Griffin were going to write a letter with the help of the township attorney to the contractors that worked on the Blue Star Trail. And we're trying to figure out who's going to pay for that permanent repair on the culvert north of the fire department. Dana or Joe, do you have an update on that?
So currently we have sent the letter to the contractor who built the trail, and we're just waiting on a response for further updates.
Yeah, we ended up sending it just to Hurley and Stewart. On there, but we did do a draft and then the attorney reviewed it and they sent it on. Yep.
Would there be any value for the rest of us seeing a copy of the letter to be fully aware of everything that's in it and so on and so forth?
I haven't
Sure.
seen the letter,
And
but
I wasn't copied on the submittal, but it's out there. I'm sure we could get it from Nick, or if, I don't know, Joe, how you get access to Griffin's email, or we can get it from Nick.
yeah, I'll look into it.
Okay.
Do you have any feel, probably not at this point, how this thing is going to go?
When I got an update from Nick, we're not sure yet. So
Yeah, I think we just wait and see, what, if they have a response or they ignore it or what. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know that they're under any contractual obligation to fix anything. We're just telling them what we think as a, owner of the system that was designed, and
And a consumer and a future consumer, if they would like.
yeah, so I mean, I think we'll just kind of wait and see if we hear back from them.
Is there any possibility of adding to future contracts if we do continue working with them, that there be some time frame,
Warranty.
some warranty, where it should not fail within the first, X
2
amount of
years,
time?
yeah.
Yeah, most most projects, like if the township were to say, hey, we're gonna build 2 miles of trail and design it and bid it and coordinate that with contracts through the township, you would put something in there that says you at least want a 1-year warranty. That's pretty standard. But for MDOT contracts, because of the testing and requirements, to document things during construction, there's not a warranty requirement. So that's where this project fell. And I guess it's something we'll have to look, and look if there's another contract for trail in the township. We'll have to see what the structure of that is, right? Because the way they get their money, this last trail was actually through the road commission, right? So the township just takes it on as ownership, but we're not actually a party to the contract to build it. So it gets confusing, I think, a little bit there, but I think we should have that conversation that for the next section to be built, that we'd like to see a 1-year warranty in the contract if it's possible. The answer might be no, because it's whatever MDOT funding won't let you do that. But I think maybe the more important point is that the next time a section of trail is proposed through the township, that we really give it a hard review and make sure that we approve of the design and look for potential issues with long-term maintenance, before it's bid and built, so that we can make sure we get a good quality trail that's not going to give us issues in a couple of years, by trying to see those things coming instead of it develops after the fact and now we're dealing with it. So,
Yeah.
Okay, any more comments on that? The next item was a parks checklist. Andy and Lori, we had the checklist, and then we talked about how we would maintain it. And I guess where we were is starting in the spring, we would start using that checklist. Do you folks have any update on that?
Well, as far as I know, there's no statues in the township, so I can't add that to the checklist, but but did you look, last thing we talked about was adding it to Google Docs and giving all of us access to Google Docs.
The problem was we can't do it because the township doesn't have Google account to link it to. So like Joe could see what's happening.
I understand, but we were talking about giving the commissioners access.
Oh,
We could fill it in and cut and paste and send it to the manager.
yeah, we can still do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is, it's actually on my board right now. We'll be reaching out to our IT services to try to see if we can have like a OneDrive account. So we can, for certain things I want to send to the board members, that they have a cloud document that is constantly updated. So we can look at that. I'll just put it on my call when I talk to IT Right.
What is OneDrive?
So OneDrive is like Google Docs, or Google is just Microsoft. So all the documents that you use are in the cloud.
What was it called again? Sorry.
OneDrive.
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 And we would all have access to it, I suppose?
That would be something that I want to talk with our IT services. Because if we're having documents, it's good for the township to have access to those in case we are FOIA'd or anything like that. And for historical reasons, it's good to have that information so that staff members can pull it up.
So currently what we were doing, we had a checklist that Lori created for like the parks and what needs to be done and stuff. And so when we'd go, we could do a check off of like, this is okay, this needs work. we thought about doing like the Google Docs. So then we could just pull it up on our phone and enter it in, and then you would automatically get the document saying this is what happened there. It's good or it needs to be looked at.
Okay.
That's something OneDrive would have. Do they have like a Google form? I don't know how
There
much.
are different things because you can, on OneDrive, you can use Microsoft Excel, Word, everything Microsoft is within it.
Okay.
So, but if you guys want, we can talk separately in the office or have a call to kind of go over what you guys are looking at so that I can best assist you on getting your list together.
So
if you'd
maybe
like.
when you find out about getting OneDrive, maybe you, Andy, and I could have a conversation about putting that together. What do you
Okay.
think, Andy? As I volunteer you, what do you think? Andy.
Yeah, that's all good.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds like maybe a solution to our Google Doc problem. Okay, the next item was the Blue Star Bridge repair, the bridge that got whacked. Joe, do you have any update on how the insurance coverage is coming?
So we have submitted it. I am just waiting on a call, an email back from our claims agent for an update. Same for the Sundown Beach access. I don't mean to jump ahead. I just noticed my name next to it. Griffin did show me that's the park on Lakeshore Drive, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's the road end.
Yep. So he showed me that part, and I'm currently catching up on that project as well during this transition.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we can fill you in. Dana can probably fill you in when we get to what's going on there. Okay, so we're still waiting to hear on the bridge insurance.
Yep.
And hopefully we can get it repaired by spring, at least.
yes.
Okay, the next item was the Blue Star Trail Tri-Community meeting. There was a meeting on the 15th that I called into, and basically Clark went through the same, more or less the same information that he did at our meeting the prior week. And they concentrated mainly on the city, the bridge crossing Lake Street up to Maple Street. They went through in detail the diagrams, the engineering drawings and so forth. There were several new folks on the call who had not seen those older drawings. So everybody seemed to benefit from that. And of course, the question came up of the width, how the fire department would respond to any of these ideas. Sadly, the chief had some other commitment and did not attend that meeting. So that's pretty much where that one ended. Now, there was a second one on the 29th. I did not get the link to that, so I did not call in, but I did get a summary from Clark. They had two folks who gave presentations. One lady from Traverse City who is manages their trail network and parks, and then another person from Saginaw who presented information about their trails and the importance of the value of the trails. The other thing that happened is they decided that in order to progress much further, the Blue Star Trail Group has to contract with an engineer so they can update the costs and the ideas on the current drawings, and then come up with some new drawings, because we really don't have any official drawings or plans or cost estimates for North Street. So they're going to work on that over the next few weeks. They're going to meet every other week. And I've got the information for a link. I'll send it out to everybody. So if you want to get involved or at least call into that call, you'll be able to do that. I'll get you on the email list. I think maybe Joe called in on that. Do you have anything else that I didn't cover?
No.
Anything to add?
Sure. Okay. Yes, I was on the call last week, and Jim, you summarized it pretty well. The Traverse City and the Midland and Saginaw area trail, that they just gave a presentation on their history and how they accomplished different things. And then the board did talk about kind of how they want to see themselves go forward. So they're talking, they want to get an engineer to help design that a little bit more detailed.
Yeah, hey, Jim, this is Dana. Hey, I listened in on part of that call. And then just to clarify, I think that they're not clear who's actually going to hire the engineer. So they gave the Friends group permission, or, you know, they authorized them to go ahead and solicit proposals from engineers. But it's not clear if the committee is going to hire the engineer, if one community is going to hire the engineer, if the Friends group is going to hire the engineer. So I think they have to figure that out yet.
Yeah.
Based on, but I think their intent is to try and do the next stretch as a combined effort through both the city and the township. So it may be one or both, or one or other of those groups that is asked to actually hire the engineer.
Yeah, they did talk about that, and that they need to have further conversations. And I believe they still have to go out for proposals. They've talked to some planners. I think right now they're not at the engineering phase, they're at more the planning phase. For the firms that they listed, they sound mostly on the planning side. And so they'll come back with a little bit more solid proposal.
Okay. And they are going to continue that twice a week meeting, or twice a month meeting, right? Every other Friday.
I can't remember what they said about when their next meeting was. I didn't catch that one.
Okay. The next item was Sundown Park beach access, and I was by there about a week ago, and there has been nothing's happened. For Joe, Sundown Park is a road end off Lakeshore, south of the old washout, and there was quite a bit of beach erosion there. There's a county drain through there. The county drain is broken, and so there's a plan to try and repair that. And the county road commission asked if we were okay if they could cut that part down to allow them to move some equipment down to the beach to begin to work on that. That's what I know, and Dana may be able to give you a little more details.
Okay.
Yeah, I think our latest response that I'm aware of on that is that the Drain Commission is working with the neighboring property owners on a combined repair effort, and we let them know, hey, you know, before you use the park for access, we would like some insurance information and to see the actual plan as to what you're going to do, and some, you know, maybe an agreement that it gets restored back to existing conditions and an idea on the schedule. So I think in concept, they're proceeding in that direction, but they haven't sent us anything specifically to look at.
Okay. And the fact that the drain is broken, it's probably fairly important that they do want to get that repaired. So I would expect we would hear something fairly soon. Okay, anything else on that topic? New business. Becky had called me and we talked a little bit. The Planning Commission is coming up with 3 different committees and they're working on staffing those committees. And I'll let Becky explain the details of what the plan is. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Jim. And thank you for giving me a little time to speak to you tonight. I promise I'll be really quick. I'm impressed by your quick meetings. As any of you know, we can go 2.5, 3 hours sometimes, and it's kind of long on planning. But we had some discussions last year, and actually I think for the last 3 years, we've been discussing the Blue Star Highway. And there's a lot of events along the highway and things. And it's sort of led to finally this year saying, let's address our master plan and see if there's areas that possibly the Planning Commission could have some input and maybe take some ownership of that. And so I think in the past year, we've sort of transitioned into doing normal business, but then looking at being a little more actively involved in visioning. And so we did pool everyone in the committee and got a lot of responses to what people were interested in. And this is the Tri-Community Master Plan. And then I was charged with narrowing down probably 50 different major interests. And so we started narrowing it down. And we've come up with 3 areas that we decided to do some concentrated work on. And so we have a committee that's looking at the Blue Star Corridor. We have a committee also, we call them special committees, that's looking at the rural character of the township. And the third group we have is housing and residential availability and options. And that committee too started with some small home presentations and then realizing from other bigger businesses in the Holland, Zealand, all the way to Grand Rapids area is that housing is not available for people. And is there any way we can impact that housing needs? So that's where that discussion started. And the other 2 things we decided to do in congruent with this is we decided on a 2021, this year, book read. So we're also doing this book. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Strong Towns. And the book is Strong Towns if you're interested in it. I can email you the information, but it's by Marohn, M-A-R-O-H-N. And we decided we'll talk about this book for at our next 3 meetings. So we divided it up into 3 meetings. We're just going to have a 15-minute conversation, but it seems to have been a highly recommended book. And we just said, why don't we all have the same knowledge? If someone's going to read the book, let's do some shared knowledge. So that is another side thing that we decided to do. And I also committed to operationalizing a tri-community quarterly PC meeting. Well, when I started having the conversations with Joe about this meeting, which I really appreciate Joe, he said, he said, I should probably initiate that. And I said, oh, that's great. That's wonderful. And it may not be at the level of PC, but it may be, at a higher level. And I think we're trying to look at higher levels for all of these special committees too. And, but in introducing this, before we just go out and start committees, I wanted to come to you and say, that you're welcome to be part of any of these committees. We would appreciate it. We have to respect the number of people that are on it because we can't have a quorum. And yet I'm learning that maybe if we, what is it, Joe? If we just put it, if we put it out there on the, notice it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If we notice the meeting, then
A
possibly,
workshop.
yeah, then that would be different. So, and just one more little thing about these committees, the Blue Star Committee, the Blue Star Corridor is actually, even after meeting, I think once, and I believe they're meeting again tomorrow night, they're actually looking at two different systems to look at. I mean, one of them is just how do you cross the road? And I think that fits in so appropriately with what you're talking about too. And how do we develop a commercial district on there? What kind of influence do we need to have on that commercial district besides just zoning regulations? How do we establish a better business, a vision? And there's a lot of people that are very anxious to get better turning available off that road. And so there's been discussion since 2017 about roundabouts. And there's been a couple studies done on roundabouts and actually saying that a roundabout on each end and possibly one in the center there by Old Allegan Road would be beautiful as an entry to our community too. And it might make a statement about who we are. And so I know those things are being discussed and they'll come up, but rural character. So Dave Eiley, I think, and Dave Eiley is in charge of the Blue Star Corridor, and Daniel DeFranco is doing the rural character of the township as kind of the lead person on that. And then Bill Rowe is sort of leading the charge on housing and residential options. And he's working really closely with Dave Eiley on that. And there are a couple other people now who have volunteered to be on that too. And definitely they're working hard with Joe on that too. So Joe's going to be part of that. Actually, I think Joe's going to have a lot of input to each one of these, because as I talked to Joe, I realized Joe's a planner, and I really appreciate the discussions I've had with him so far. And I feel like I've been lucky because I got to catch him on his first week before anyone else could. So now I think he's going to be awfully busy. But another thing we're talking about is education and what we need. And I would just like to invite you to come to one of our meetings sometime and talk about what your committee does, because that's my first step in saying we need a tri-community quarterly meeting. I think we need to have a community sharing of some sort, and we would love to know more about parks. Every other week someone says, is there a park plan? Is there a plan that shows all the parks? And so I think people would like to know more about what you do and what you've been doing. And I would just like to invite you to come. We'll put you on our agenda, and you'll be our education for the night. So I'm putting you down as an education option to introduce to our team next week when we talk about education needs. And I really think that's all I have to say, but thank you for having me. I hope nobody's asleep.
Nope,
Okay,
I'm just typing.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
you're
Thank you,
welcome.
Becky.
Thank you.
Any questions for Becky? When you said, I have a quick question. When you said for your next planning meeting, you would like one of us to attend and give a little, because we do have a 5-year park plan, and give a little update for the parks. Did I understand that correctly?
We would love to invite you to come and talk. Our agenda is pretty set for our February meeting, but we could easily say that you would be our guest, and you could come and tell us about your 5-year plan for parks. Is it something you can do in a period of 10 to 15 minutes?
Yeah, why don't we plan for the March meeting? Do you guys meet once or twice a month?
We meet once a month, and
Okay.
it is the 4th Monday of the month. And I will let you know that for sure, but I will definitely let our people know that in February that it'll be on the agenda for March. Okay,
Okay.
if that works for you.
Go ahead.
I said, you said the fourth Monday, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and we have obviously our March meeting will be before your March meeting. So I'll add that to our agenda and we'll come up with a little plan of what we can do in, 10, 15 minutes to give you an idea. And, I assume right now it'll be a Zoom meeting. So maybe a couple of us will be able to call in and we'll take a couple different topics that we'll split up and talk.
That'd be great. I'll put you down in our new business and we'll allot like 10 to 15 minutes for that, if that's okay with you. I think that people would be interested to know about the trails and just really what you're doing, a little bit about everything. There's always questions about even the lake shore area, the park there, the Sundown Beach and things like that. I think it would just be nice to have a check-in, and I think that's very appropriate, right, Joe?
Yeah, I think it's appropriate to have a check-in with other boards to kind of see what's going on. Like today I was going over the recreation plan just to kind of familiarize myself with that as well. I was just looking at the master plan.
Okay. I think an annual check-in between boards is, it would be nice. So I appreciated listening to you tonight.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the Kalamazoo River Restoration Grant. If you remember, there was a settlement based on the paper mill and the pollution of the river, and that money is slowly being distributed. Dana submitted an idea for River Bluff, and that idea passed the first review and has been added to the potential projects. So I'll let Dana give you a little summary of where that is and what his expectations are and so forth. Dana.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I think I got an email just this last week. Julie Sims is my contact at NOAA. She had reached out to me and she's the one kind of facilitating this effort for the Kalamazoo River Trustees Group. But she had sent, I guess it was January 20th. She is sending me a notice that on behalf of the trustee council, the project idea submitted was selected. It was highly ranked and they think they're going to pursue it for 2021 funding, which means that they're actively taking it on as a project and are trying to figure out exactly who would implement it and what amount of funding it would get this year and that kind of thing. But she made it sound like they would help prepare like a design for that project. So she said there's going to be more to come on that in February. They were hoping to make some announcements in February and March on here's the projects that are selected, here's how we plan to implement them. So I think they just kind of run with it. And then at some point they'll come to us and say, hey, for the township, this is your jurisdiction, your park, here's what we're willing to pay for and fund. And they may ask us to try and implement it, but they'll fund it, or maybe they'll have somebody implement it on their team and we'll just be an advisor to it. I'm not sure. So it's kind of exciting. We're basically moving up the list to the point where they're going to invest some money in the township at River Bluff Park to kind of prevent further erosion into the river, and also help kind of stabilize and improve the bank by where the bridge is, and create some habitat, some fishing opportunities, and potentially help expand the trail network there, or in places just maybe widen it and put down a more permanent surface material, not asphalt, but just kind of more something that would be easier to maintain over time, that wouldn't just be a 2-track footpath that would get overgrown. So so we'll have more details on that from them and go from there, I guess.
So is that what you had submitted well, back up a minute. So when you talk about shoring up the edge, are you talking about armoring? Are you talking about, what are you talking about? For example, on the, around the edge?
Yeah, I'm trying to find, I thought I had forwarded you that email with the write-up in it. I'm sure I can circulate that around to everybody, but the idea is you would do like a natural shoreline restoration along the edge. So where the river comes in at the bridge, there's a lot of erosion there of the bank, and so we're losing some park into the river, and then that's contributing to sedimentation in the Kalamazoo Lake and all that. And so I was familiar with a project that Ottawa County Parks had done recently, where they did a natural shoreline restoration, where they take like woody debris and other kind of native materials and basically stabilize the eroded areas, but also at the same time create opportunities for shore fishing and kind of make a natural stabilization area there. So that was the idea, is to kind of stop that erosion there in a natural stabilization technique. And then as a secondary benefit, the park might, be able to have their trails expanded or widened a little bit so that it's easier for people to get out to that point, and take advantage of those opportunities along the shore there.
But this is not trying to make it ADA compliant.
No, it's not that specific. It's just the idea that it's mainly focused on stopping the erosion. And then a secondary benefit could be if they need to get back there to do construction, that they would make, the trail, the main trail that leads out there, maybe 6-8 feet wide, and try and make some improvements to that. But it wouldn't be entirely like ADA compliant, like we had submitted for that grant application in 2017.
Yeah, that might be a little rough on the trees out there. Might cause some erosion in the dune edge where we've got the trails kind of skittering along the edge there. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that would be good, because where the river bends, that naturally erodes. The river, the current just keeps cutting back, and there's several trees that are down into the river there. And if it could stabilize that bank, because that'll just keep happening, as especially with the high water, more water down the river, it'll keep cutting back into that bank. It would be nice if we could get some work done on our little dock out there too.
Yeah, Jim, I had thought I had sent this information on this out a few times, but if I send it to you again, can you send it out as information to everyone?
Yeah,
maybe
I know
people aren't
I
getting
have
my
a
email.
copy of the one that you
That'd be great.
sent me. But yeah, go ahead and send it to me and I'll send it out. Okay. The next item is this minutes template. When Lori did the minutes for our last meeting, when Clark did a fairly detailed presentation on the plans for the Blue Star Trail, and he went back over a lot of the things that we all more or less knew. And we have to remember Clark is taking over from John Adams as the new president. So some of the stuff is new to him too. But Lori had a rather detailed, basically a lot of the dialogue. And so she and I talked a little bit, and she summarized it a little bit more in the minutes that we all read. That prompted me to do some reading about minutes and what we should and shouldn't include and so forth. And so I thought maybe if I did a little work on that, and at our next meeting, uh, I can throw out some ideas that we can talk about. It seems to work pretty well to use our agenda as an outline, and we just expand that. There are a few things, some of these different, you know, processes and procedures recommend. And obviously, if we vote to do something, like when we voted to go with a metal brick or metal roof on the shelter versus a shingle roof, which involved more money, that we do have to record the fact that we voted and how we voted, 3-2 or whatever. So those kinds of procedural things certainly have to be included. But there's some options, I think, on the other items and how much detail. So that's why I put that in the minutes. So I guess I'll throw it out. Does anybody think that's a good idea, or is everybody comfortable with the way we're doing it? Tell me what you think.
I have a quick question, Jim.
Yes.
Who is the secretary for the Parks Commission?
What we have done is we have rotated the job. And I don't know whether that's kosher or not. That's just the way we got started. And not we got started, but when I became chairman, that's how we did it. I felt like it was a reasonable way to do it. Obviously, the results of that is we get a lot of different formats. And so whether that's good or bad, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know if there's an official, format for a township minutes, that things that have to be included, things that can be included, or things that should not be included. Like one of the things I read was that you shouldn't include a conversation between 2 or 3 of the people during the meeting if we're talking about, for example, the dog park fence, and someone says, would it be possible for a dog to get under the fence? A determined digger. And someone else says, well, yeah, it might be possible. And then it actually happens. Some dog gets whacked on the interstate and someone sues us because they went back in the minutes and said, you acknowledge the fact that you have a potential problem and you didn't fix it. And you should have fixed it and you're liable. I don't know if it's a realistic example or not, but go ahead.
I can work with the commission. In my previous communities, I've had to take the minutes for them and kind of which formats each one uses. So I can work with you all on that, Jim, if you want to meet together, kind of get a template for you all.
Yeah, that would be great. I will do that, and we'll figure out a plan when we can get together, and
Okay.
maybe for the next meeting, we can have some additional information.
Sounds good.
Okay. The next item are the parks reports. Our first park is River Bluff. There's 3 of us down there. I have not walked out to the river since it snowed. I've been to the parking lot. The parking lot, of course, is plowed. There's a trail across, the grass area headed down to the river. Has anyone actually walked down there in the last month? Lori has. Go ahead.
It seems fine. Obviously, you need to wear the appropriate footwear, but there's been a lot of foot traffic and people are using it, all the trails.
Okay, well, that's good.
Mhm.
In a few years, we'll have a nice waterfront down there too. The dog park, Lori again.
Yeah, no, it's heavily used. There's a group of regulars who keep it shoveled and clear for everybody, which is really sweet of them. And I just keep getting comments that this is the best dog park that they've been to at all. So kudos to the group that started it. And one of the big draws is the variety of spaces for the dogs to be in. So I just keep hearing that more and more from different people. So if we did decide to maybe make it any larger or expand out, like in the plan, that beautiful pie in the sky plan that I saw when I first started, you know, I think it would be utilized. So, and the only other thing is, you know, I think we'd mentioned at the last meeting talking about what to do with that back area that was for reservation only, and nobody ever uses that, and maybe looking at, I don't know, putting a hole in the fence that separates it from the small dog area so that it's a little bit bigger. Because what I also find is that a lot of people with dogs that are not well socialized, but they still want to get them exposed to other dogs and see what they do, they take them into that area. And so I think that area, if it were a little bit bigger, could benefit those trying to see what their dogs will do when around other dogs. So that's something to think about.
Seems like it would be fairly easy to make an opening in the fence to combine those two areas.
Yeah.
Okay, and you know, your point about that property, I didn't realize how big that parcel is until John Vanderbeek brought up the idea of a trail through there. So there actually is a number of other, some more space back there that it could be expanded. The large dog area.
Yeah, because that forested area, that fence was where I think we were talking about improving it, because it's, you know, a lot of those posts are dying and so forth. And if we did have the capacity to expand back there, that would be a fairly easy maneuver if we wanted to do that. And I think it would be beneficial, because there are a lot of people that just kind of keep circling the same trails around and around and around, you know, kind of, I think they would welcome a little bit of an addition. So that's something I'd like to consider. I don't know, Joe, what we would need to do, if anything, to move in back there, if you have any ideas, or Dana or anyone else, you know, to expand a little.
So I've been to the dog park a couple times. Not a whole lot to picture it off, but we can look at that, especially as Jim mentioned at the top of the meeting about looking at a budget request that can, you know, as we go forward, we can kind of see about putting that in a request for this upcoming fiscal year, if that's what the Parks Commission would like to do. But, you know.
Yeah, sorry, this is Dana. We've kind of talked before, you know, if there's any like capital project or bigger improvement project, you know, we'd like to see at a park. I think it kind of falls on us to do the legwork to come up with basically like a presentation first to our group and then to the township board, you know, as a basis for that ask for funding. You know, so if there's like a grant application, or if it's, let's expand the dog park and it's going to take, you know, a half a mile of fencing, and we've gotten an estimate for that of whatever, $1,000, tens of thousands of dollars, whatever it is, you know, we'll have something to present and base it on that. So that'd be my suggestion.
And it's always good to attach, when boards are looking at creating or expanding or doing something, to attach it to their plan, their master plan. So for the park and recreation plan, looking over it, making sure everything jives, it helps with building that case as projects move forward, especially with grant funding, if that is an option that we look at, where we're just asking for a match internally to obtain one. So there's different avenues to get things done. It's just kind of seeing where we want to go and then, having conversations.
Okay. Yeah, I think with a little planning, we could expand that maybe in increments. And I know there's property to the north and to the east that would be, like Lori said, we could add extra trails and so forth. Okay. Sundown Park, we talked about that, and I guess we're waiting on the Drain Commission. Anything else on Sundown?
Not for me.
Go ahead. Okay. Veterans Park, I go by it often, and I looked the other day and I didn't see a lot of tracks there, so it doesn't look like it gets used a lot in the winter.
No,
The bike trail, and of course the bike trail isn't plowed, so and the bridge is broken, so I don't know if Andy's got any update.
I did go for a walk from the school. I made it to the dune rides the other day after school. There's footprints still out there. I mean, some people are using it somewhat, but I don't think it's like heavily used at the moment. But I didn't see anything else like out of the ordinary when I went for my walk.
Okay. Any other general comments or anything before? I think Becky dropped off, so we probably don't have any public comments.
I'm here. I'm still
You're
here.
Okay. Do you have any comments?
I do, just real quick. If you're really interested, which I hope all of you are, in being on any of these special committees, go ahead and email me through the township, risraels@saugatucktownship.org, or you can connect with Joe and he'll pass it on to me too, if you can't remember my name. And the only other thing is, I agree with you on the minutes. I used to, when I worked in healthcare, I would say to people, remember their minutes, they're not hours. And because I mean, we have minutes in planning that are 10 pages long, and but we have to remember that they're being recorded anyway. So if we're worried about conversations, it's all recorded. So I just wanted to remind you of that. Thank you. You do a great job. Thank you.
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you. We're glad you came. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And just what Becky is proposing, I was at the combined board and planning commission meeting, and I've been in conversation with Becky and with Dave Eiley just today about working with him on the Blue Star corridor, and he's looking for, I think, to do a couple different groups, one with traffic flow and the other one with I think development or something. But so I'm already kind of plugged into this, and it's, I think, an exciting time to do this, just because it's right at the beginning. And if any of you are interested, you can kind of help guide with, any wisdom you might have from being on the parks. I like the fact that they seem to be, and back me if I'm right, Becky, that you're kind of using the Tri-Community Master Plan as the lens through which you look at these projects, which I think is overdue and a wonderful aspect of these committees.
Yes, you're right. And you're right. We are looking at the Blue Star in terms of road traffic and usage, but then commercial development too. What I learned, I mean, we're learning a lot as we do it, and Joe was helpful in that, is we do have a road commission group We have someone from the board that sits on roads, and we really can't make determinations about what happens to that road, but we can work with the road commission. And I think if we get enough of the community involved, I do believe we can make a difference as people. And I think if we share our vision, I think that's how things things go. So I'm excited about it, and I stand behind it and support it all too.
Yeah, and
Jim,
it was the communities that put together the master plan.
It was.
And they did such a good job. They all agreed to it, so.
Hey,
Yes.
Jim, I just wanted to note that Denise Shipley raised her hand. She wanted to give a comment for public comment.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah,
Hi, my name is Denise Shipley. I live in the township here. I've been here for a lot of years, 21 years now. I currently sit on the planning commission, and I just wanted to introduce myself, say hello to everyone. Few quick things. Veterans Park has geocache. I don't know if you're aware of that. That might be why you see footprints at Veterans Park. If you go onto a geocache website, you can take part in a global game of hunting down geocache. And I can tell you for certain, I found it there. Veterans Park is hiding geocache. So it is important to people, and you didn't even know it. So thank you very much for maintaining that. I really, really appreciate it. Two, I love long minutes. Just
Okay.
for the record, I know everybody does not appreciate long minutes. I, in particular, am one who loves long minutes because I learn better. I focus better that way. So yes, Planning Commission has 10-page minutes, and while some people may not love that, I would appreciate even more if possible. So please don't be afraid of long minutes. Also, let me think back. Sorry, I had a couple things I wanted to say and I scooted on. My heart is in the parks. Well, I sit on the planning commission. The truth be told, I came from a very large and amazing park system in the Chicago suburbs. I lived and breathed the park system. I worked for a very large park district system for many, many years. That is where my heart truly sits. So that being said, if there's anything I can help with, I am available. And I would love to be involved in some of what you've got going on. So please use me. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
wonderful.
Okay, thank you. And one comment on the Blue Star. I grew up in New Jersey, and what you can tell probably by my accent to some degree, we call them traffic circles. There's a lot of them around, and once you get used to them, they're actually really handy. And like a 5-road intersection that we have on Blue Star, every time you try and cross that intersection, you really worry that you didn't look as quickly as you could, and the rate of speed some folks come along that road. You just can't look every way before you pull out and make sure you've. So yeah, there's got to be a better way, and the same with Old Allegan Road.
Yeah, it's difficult here. Teaching 4 kids how to drive, pulling on it onto the Blue Star has always been my biggest concern. And that being said, my parents were born and raised in England. I have spent many, many, many years there driving on the roundabouts, and I'm a huge fan and would love to give some input in that also.
And you're on that committee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you're on that committee.
They'll eventually call me, I'm sure.
Yes. Well, I'll make sure if they haven't, but I don't know I think they're meeting this week on a Zoom. I'll check with Dave Biley. Denise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know you were there. Any other public comments?
Don't see anybody else
I'm just
out.
excited we had 2 public comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited that you're gonna come and speak to us. So don't you think that's a good idea, Denise?
I do. I think that's excellent. Thank you. And
Yeah.
I think being as it's difficult to get groups together without a quorum, the more input we have, the better, the more diversity I think I would really appreciate. I feel that while we can get along with the people we already know, we might be including already more like-minded people that we already know. And so I think that opening it up to other committees and the public would be a huge, huge help for us to kind of get a bigger picture of sort of what everybody is really looking for, and not just what a few of us kind of are narrowing in on. So yeah, I would love some input from other committees. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comments on any topic? Okay. We will adjourn the meeting at, I have 7:11. And our next meeting is March 3rd, and I assume it will be a Zoom meeting.
Might be too cold for outside still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I am looking forward to our next meeting outside. Hopefully, maybe April, if not April, for sure, May. Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting. And thank you very, very much for attending.
Night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Nice night.